guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you are new to my channel, welcome. This is my review for Marriage Boot Camp Hip Hop Edition Season 16 Episode 8. I did do reviews for episodes 1 through 7, so if you did not see those, please go check those out, and let's just get right into this review because this episode is all about scarred past. So basically this episode starts with the aftermath of those sex challenges that the couples had to do in the previous episode. And so Stu and Michel'le were finally able to have a conversation by themselves upstairs in their room where they actually allowed each other to speak this time and they listened to what each other had to say, although they still have a lot of issues in their relationship, and I honestly don't know if the two of them are going to end up making it after this season ends. Now, Cielo and Shawnee had an argument after the sex challenge that they had because Cielo was uncomfortable with the challenge and he felt like Shawnee was telling too much information and he did not like that. And so basically she tried to tell him that she loved him before she went to sleep and he didn't say it back, and he said that he didn't have to say it back just because she said it. So clearly he was upset. They had woke up the next morning, though, in this episode, and they acted like nothing ever even happened, which Shawnee admitted that that's a part of their problem in their relationship. They'll get into an argument, and then the next day act like nothing happened. That's definitely something that they need to work on. Also, Joseline is still dealing with having to give temporary custody of her daughter Bonnie Bella to Stevie J, who is the father of her child, and she's upset about it, but there's really nothing she can do about it while she's contractually obligated to finish up the season of Marriage Boot Camp. And so basically she has to finish up these last 2 weeks at Marriage Boot Camp, and then she can deal with the situation with her daughter and Stevie J, which I think she's handling it pretty well. Normally you would think that Joseline would be making a big scene, but she actually hasn't been. She's actually been handling it well. Now, the ladies are all sitting outside at the beginning of this episode, and they're talking amongst each other, basically talking about their issues that they've been having, especially with the last challenge that they had to do, which was all about their sex lives. And Dr.Ish was watching them from his office, and he felt like he needed to pull Michel'le to the side because he feels like she's one of the ladies that's struggling the most in the house. So he ends up taking her away from the rest of the ladies and having a very deep conversation with her. So Dr.Ish and Michel'le talk about her toxic past relationships that were very abusive from what she says, and she basically was saying that she doesn't know what it's like to be in a relationship with a nice guy, okay, which is Stu. He's completely opposite of all the other guys that she has dated in the past, and so she doesn't really know how to take her relationship with him. And so basically she was saying that she had a wall up, which I think it's great that she recognizes that she has a wall up, that she's guarded, but she's going to have to let that guard down if her relationship with Stu is going to work, or if her relationship with anybody's going to work, okay? It's definitely something that's going to take her some time, though. It's definitely not going to happen overnight, because if everything she said that happened in her previous relationships are true, then it's definitely going to be a struggle for her to be able to actually let her guard down completely. It's going to take time, and I don't know if Stu is strong enough to wait for her to be able to do that. So they all ended up getting called down to the boot camp room where they had to do their next challenge that has to do with their past. They had to illustrate in tattoo form a good memory and a bad memory that helped shape them to who they are today. And they basically got split up into two groups. One group went with Dr.Ish and the other group went with Judge Toller. And basically when they illustrated their memories, they had to get up in front of everybody and explain the memory that they illustrated. So basically Ajwa and Styles P went first, where Ajwa talked about how she has a memory of a guy who used to molest her as a child and take inappropriate pictures of her as a child. And then basically Styles P talked about how his stepdad used to abuse him and his mother, which was definitely a traumatic experience for the both of them. And you can tell how it's affected how they are today. This was a hard episode to watch because it was really deep and everyone went through very traumatic experiences, but it was good that they were able to be open. I will say that I didn't like that they really didn't illustrate any positive memories. Like, they didn't show that during this episode. They only talked about the negative memories. They never talked about in depth their positive memories that they have. So Ceelo and Shawnee end up going next, and basically Ceelo said that he had this experience as a young child where he was out playing with his friends outside, and this white kid, I'm assuming he's a white kid because he said that he felt like it was a racist act, but the white kid ended up spitting on his chest, and he felt like that kid was being racist towards him, which definitely helped shape him into the person that he is today, because that's something that he's held on for such a long time. And he also talked about this thing about him being a Gemini and two sides of himself. I think he studies astrology, which is definitely something cool to dabble into. And I think he uses it as a coping mechanism, though, to deal with things that he's dealt with in his past. Now, Shawnee ends up going next, and basically her younger sister had passed away while she was very young, and she felt like because of that, her mom wasn't as present as she wanted her mom to be. She says that her and her mom are very close. It's just that her mom could have been more present when she was a child. Now, Michel'le said that she basically would play loud music because she really liked music, okay? And she felt like music helped her deal with her harsh life that she was dealing with at home. She said that she would play loud music in order to block out the sound of her mom being beaten. And I feel like because she grew up in a house where her mom was being beaten, she felt like that's how relationships are supposed to go. She felt like that was normal. And so she took that into the relationships that she had in the past, which were very abusive from what she had said. So she had a very traumatic life, and that definitely shows right now by the way that she behaves now. And basically Stu had a very traumatic story too, which I was surprised about because he doesn't seem like he came from a lot of trauma. He was saying that his father did drugs and he shared a needle with somebody and he ended up getting AIDS because of it, and that his dad was dead for 9 days before anyone found him, and so he never actually got to say goodbye to his father. That was really sad. And when they did the next challenge, basically Stu said that there was a lot more things that he dealt with in his life that he didn't talk about. This was just one specific memory that he was pinpointing, okay? He basically came from a life of violence, but he uses humor to cope with what he's going through, okay? Which is normal. People do that a lot. The most people who do the most funniest shit, and they're funny all the time and they're always laughing and goofy, a lot of those people have went through a lot of traumatic experiences. They just don't know how to deal with it, so they deal with it with humor. Chose and Bianca end up going next, and basically Chose wanted to go to the NFL, but he ended up getting hurt really bad while he was running track, and so his dreams of becoming an NFL superstar ended up being shattered, okay, which is definitely a traumatic experience. Whether people want to think it's mild compared to everybody else's on the show, it's not, because if you have your heart set on doing something and then that shit stripped away from you, that's hard to deal with, and at the same time you have to figure out what else you want to do, basically putting your passion to the side and doing something that you're settling for because it's not really what you want to do. That was stripped away from him. So you can definitely see that when it comes to his persona now, because it seems like he just wants to be successful and he doesn't really care who he hurts on the way of trying to become successful, okay? So I see that in him. Now, Bianca ends up going next, and she said basically that she never felt loved, and she doesn't trust anyone because of how the people who were supposed to love her and care about her showed her that they did not, okay? Which that plays out too in her relationship with Chose, because she clearly doesn't trust him, and she clearly does not believe that he loves her. She feels like she loves him more than he loves her. She said that she's been taking care of herself since she was 15 years old, and that's all she really knows. I hope that after this challenge, the two of them are able to have a conversation and the two of them are able to work things out, at least for a friendship, because they seem to not be together right now. But if they don't want to be together anymore and they want to continue as friends, I feel like they should learn how to understand each other better. So besides Michel'le and Stu, I definitely feel like Joseline had a very traumatic story as well. She said that she was molested by a friend of the family and that she grew up around a lot of drugs and, sex. So basically she ended up having a drug problem at one point in her life. And, you could see that with Joseline, okay, that she has dealt with, being sexualized at a very young age. That's why she said in this episode that she uses her sexuality to get her to where she wants to be at, because that's all she really knows, because she was introduced to sex at a very young age, and you can see that in her. I think it's good that she was able to be open, and I think it was good that, we got to see a different side of Joseline, because a lot of people don't like her because of her persona on TV, but none of us really know her past, so I think it was good that she was able to open up. Now, Ballistic said that his grandmother was the closest person to him, and that at a very young age, she had a stroke and she ended up dying, and he was the one that found her, and that's traumatic as well. It really is. Like I said, everybody had a very traumatic story. Finding the person that you love the most dead is definitely something that can scar you for life. So it was just a really hard episode to watch, to be honest with you. So basically they had little kids in the next part of this challenge, where the kids had to basically pretend to be the cast members in the house and basically act out the memories that they illustrated in the beginning of this episode. Now, they had Cielo and Shani go first, and they had a little boy and a little girl playing the two of them, and basically the little boy who played Cielo was talking about how the traumatic experience of having a little racist boy spit at him at a young age molded him into the person that he is today, and basically the situation with Shawnee's sister passing passing away and her mom not being as present as she could have been definitely made her want to take control of everything. And when she feels like she's not in control, it brings stress to her life. So basically, the two of them use their traumatic experiences in order to cope with life, basically. Now, the next situation was Joseline and Ballistic. They had a little girl who asked Dr.Ish for drugs and basically said that a family member had her around that lifestyle, so that's the only lifestyle she knew, and that she was going to use her body to get to the top, which is definitely something that Joseline does do. And I hope that after she sees this episode that she makes changes with that, because she doesn't have to use her body to make it to the top. She has the personality to be on TV. I don't think she has to be over sexualized all the time, but that's something that she's going to have to work on, and that's definitely something that's going to be a process for her to be able to do. Now, basically, Ballistic had the little boy talking about the passing of his grandmother and how he felt like he didn't need anybody and how he didn't lean on anybody when he truly needed somebody to talk to. He just bottled everything up inside. You can tell that he's somewhat like that now too, and that definitely molded him into being that way. So then Bianca came, okay, and the little girl had to play Bianca. Basically, the little girl was angry and she didn't feel loved, and Bianca knew that that was her right away without the little girl even saying it, because of the fact that she said that the little girl acts exactly how she feels, okay? So basically, Bianca needs to learn how to control her anger, and she also needs to learn how to let her guard down a little bit and stop automatically assuming that people don't care about her, because there are people who do. The little boy who was doing choses basically said that he wanted to be a star and he doesn't care about loneliness because he just wants to make it to the top. I can tell him being that way now because he doesn't care who he hurts in the process of him trying to make it to the top. And I think it's because he feels like he has to succeed or else, like he has to be a star or else, because of the fact that his NFL dreams were snatched away from him at a very young age. There's a little boy playing Styles P and a little girl playing Ajwa, and the little boy basically talked about how his stepdad beating him and his mom made him feel like he had to be strong all the time and that he didn't need anybody to have his back because he had his own back. And basically, he never really truly felt protected, so he had to be tough in order to protect himself. You can see that in him now, and he recognized that too. And I don't know if he feels like he needs to change that, because I don't think he feels like him feeling like he has to be tough and feeling like he has to protect himself is a negative thing. Now, Ajwa, the little girl who was playing her, basically talks about being molested, and the pictures being taken of her made her not feel safe at home, and basically that has a lot to do with why she doesn't feel secure right now, because she's using what she went through as a child in her relationship now with Styles P. And in her relationship with regular life, I feel like she picked Styles P as a partner because she wanted to feel protected, and because of what he went through, he is a protector in that sense. So that definitely made a lot of sense to me. Shelli and Stu were acted out last by a little boy and a little girl, and basically the little boy who did Stu was talking about how he never got to say goodbye to his dad and that he didn't have many people to look out for him, and basically how he uses humor to get through life because he doesn't want to show any type of sadness. You can see that in Stu because anytime there's a serious topic that comes up, he's laughing or making some type of joke when it comes to him, because if you notice when you watch this scene, when the little girl was portraying Michel'le, he had a serious face on, but then when the little boy was portraying him, he had a big smile on his face. So that's basically how he deals with his pain. Now, the little girl who played Michel'le was basically talking about how she was making excuses for why a man hits a woman, because that's what she thought at that young age, like he's hitting her because she did something to make him hit her. And she noticed that when this little girl was saying this stuff, how crazy it sounds coming out of her mouth. So she basically said that that was the mindset she had as a young child, and that's why once she got into relationships with men, she felt like men are going to do what they're going to do and you just have to let them do it and just keep your head down and kind of stay out of their way. That's the mindset that she's had, and she realizes that she has to make changes when it comes to that. She's not in those types of relationships anymore. Stu is completely opposite of the guys that she was with in the past, and so that's definitely something she's going to have to work on, although people have to understand that it's going to take Michel'le a lot more time than a lot of the other people in the house to be able to make those changes, because that's all she truly knows. At the very end of this episode, Judge Toller ends up coming out and letting all the couples know that the next day they will be taking the lie detector test, okay? And if you've watched other seasons of Marriage Boot Camp, you would know that a lot of deception is indicated once they take the lie detector test. I know that some people who have done the show before have said that the lie detector tests were not accurate, but we don't know what's going to happen this season, so we'll just have to wait and see. But a lot of people in this house were nervous about the lie detector portion of this season because they don't know what their partner's going to say and what they're going to end up finding out. Basically, Bianca was the most nervous out of everybody. She felt like she doesn't know what Chose is going to answer when it comes down to taking the lie detector test. She even was asking him upstairs if he's ever cheated on her, and basically said that the question she wants to ask is if he's in love with somebody else, which is definitely something that worries her and stresses her out so far throughout this entire season. Everybody's nervous because they have to pick the right question because they're only going to get one question answered on this episode. So basically, Joseline already had her question planned out, and basically she wanted to know if Ballistic was going to marry her. And I know he's tired of her asking that question, but she wants to know if they're going to end up walking out together at the end of this season. So the episode cut there. I thought that this was a very hard to watch episode. It was definitely a very emotional one. It was definitely digging deep because, like they say when it comes to this show, they break you down to build you back up. Hopefully they can build everyone back up after this very emotionally draining episode. But next week is the lie detector test episode, so I'm interested to see that. So let me know what you guys thought about this episode down in the comment section. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. I appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more videos, and thank you to all my subscribers for the support. I appreciate you all so very much, and until next time, I will see you guys in my next video.